Today on One Man Garage, we're going to get back on the wagon. Yesterday when I was playing with the Star Chief's oil pressure problem, I also, very late to get started, began the removal of the old power booster so I can put in the new plated booster and the new hold-off valve and the old master cylinder and the old hold-off valves over here. The other new masters in the other garage on the bench bleed I did yesterday in advance. You know, for those that don't know, on a GMA body, the power brake boosters, a little bit of a pain to get off while the car's all assembled. It's something I should have done when the fenders were off, before or after the car was painted, but, well, you know, procrastination, well, lazy, I don't know. It just didn't get done. Never mind that spark plug, that was just there so I could test the carburetor. I also just recently was testing a late 70s 403 Olds 800 Q-Jet that I picked up cheap. I went through it and fixed some of the mistakes from the reman process and removed all the choke stuff and had to do some temporary vacuum plugs. Had a little bit of a leak from the fuel threads for some reason, even with a new nylon washer, so I got to retest that. But it is running and idling well. But yeah, the brake stuff's been needing to be done forever. And then after that's done, I got to get these aftermarket upper A-frames off that I installed when I was drag racing this car. They have no friction, so this thing bottoms out a lot on the street because it doesn't have the serrated friction bushing design like the stock control arms. So I have some new loaded stock control arms to put on, so it'll calm this down since it's just a cruiser now. These upper control arms will go on my Rally 350 because it's more of the drag race high performance, you know, car that'll need whatever help you can get. But this 4,000 pound boat, long wheelbase, it's not like a bouncy front end. I've had several different shocks on the front and it just constantly was loose and would bottom out easily. Great for pulling the front wheels off the ground at the track that this car used to do with a 455 Pontiac was in it, but not so cool for just driving and then, oh look, bottomed out even though I have new shocks. Yeah, it kind of sucks. So anyway, we'll check in later. I guess I'm ready to put the new booster on. Have to do some of it left-handed and that just doesn't seem right. I don't vote that way either. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier was I had an exhaust leak on this passenger little header reducer. It's just a little 2 1/4 exhaust for this little 350 off these little 2 1/2 outlet headers. Basically I had to put a new section of little slip joints in there with clamps till I can get it welded at the muffler shop. I don't have a good welder and the previous pieces were just tacked in, and basically they should have been welded up when I had some tailpipe work done and where they welded some other stuff. Put Walker Dynamax Super Turbos on this, but all it had was crappy little tack welds up here that I had done with my flux wire deal. Doesn't have any gas, not a real MIG or anything, and the aluminized metal and stainless steel collector and none of that stuff was going to work, and it got bumped, broke spot welds putting the car on the trailer when I took it to paint earlier this year. So anyway, when it fires back up and hopefully without fuel dripping out of the fuel inlet on the carb, we won't have a noisy, annoying crap going on right about here. So that was something I got done yesterday, taking a little vacation time from work. Here's that bench bled master cylinder, by the way. For the newbies that don't know what bench bleeding is, basically you have these outlets that would be your hard lines looped back into the reservoir, and you have fluid, and then use a screwdriver and slowly push the plunger multiple times, simulating brake pedal, and pumps fluid and bubbles out, but the bubbles go under the fluid level and rise out. So the goal is to just repeat until you've cleared all the bubbles. And then I laid the lines in here and pinched it with the cap so I can transport it to the car and get it bolted up. because with the lid clamp tight, it'll provide a back vacuum, kind of be less likely to leak as much when you swap it over to the hard lines, which is coming up now because I've got the booster tightened down. Voila, magic. No spark plug, vacuum hooked up, booster tight, hold off valve installed, new little brake line, new master, and the gold zinc CAD plating, whatever, complements the small block Oldsmobile gold. And yeah, it'll need to be bled, and I still got to connect the fork doodad on the interior of the car to the brake pedal and reconnect the brake pedal switch, which I left not messed with yesterday, and the brake light was on for hours draining the battery, which is now out being charged, so we can crank it to see if it still leaks gas, which it probably will, because, well, you know, it's just going to keep leaking, that's all. But we'll deal with that as they come. I do want to hear it run today, though, without the exhaust leak. That'll be nice. Maybe soon we can get the brakes bled and wash all the bird poop and the dust off, and maybe go for a cruise. That could be cool, you know. So, alrighty, we'll check in later. Well, still need to bleed the brakes. I went off, took a break, and switched to working on some construction in the house, remodeling a room, rebuilding floor joists and flooring. And I charged the battery up on this because the brake light was left yesterday. So you figure half a day of charging at 10 amps. So there's that. So, and that's a new battery. So I guess that's all for today, folks, without the Looney Tunes cut in. Adios. Check back later.